Welcome to the Geostrategic Podcast.
Hello, everyone. A huge thank you for watching and listening to the podcast today. We are covering a development that has officially sent shockwaves through the Pentagon and the Middle East. Iran claims to have a staggering 80,000 drones ready for combat. Continue by focusing on the geostrategic implications of this move. We aren't just looking at a new weapon, we're looking at the end of traditional air superiority. But I want to hear from you. Is this a genius strategic shift or a global catastrophe? We want this to be a space for bold ideas, so jump into the comments right now and let us know your take. Don't hold back. I'm reading every single one and I want to see the sparks fly. If you're ready to see how the world is changing, smash that like button, share this with anyone who cares about global security, and hit subscribe to join our community. Let's dive into the data.
Right, the data. And, when we do dive in, the first thing we absolutely have to acknowledge is that we aren't looking at a typo.
Not a typo.
Not at all. That 80,000 figure, it's not just some random number they've thrown out there for propaganda. It is actually backed by some pretty specific intelligence assessments.
About how they're making them, I assume. The production.
Exactly, about production velocity. The sources we're looking at today, and this includes Israeli estimates from as recently as January 28, 2026.
So very current.
Very current. And they paint this picture of an industrial mobilization that is, frankly, it's just unprecedented for this class of weapon.
Okay, let's unpack that right away, because 80,000 is a number that is just hard to visualize. When we talk about air forces, we're usually counting in the dozens, maybe hundreds.
Right.
If a country buys 50 new jets, it's global news. But 80,000. So what does the source material actually say about how they're hitting that number? It sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It would be. It would be an absolute nightmare if they were building, say, F-35s. But they're not. They are building the Shahed 136. And the data, it points to a production rate of roughly 400 units per day.
400?
Per day. That's the critical metric here. It's not just the stockpile they have right now. It's the velocity of that assembly line. The sources, they describe this as an industrial mobilization, like something you'd see in a full-blown war economy.
400 a day. Let me just... No. I'm doing the math in my head. If you keep that pace up for a full year, that's over 146,000 drones. Annually.
Yep.
That is just, it's staggering. That's not a military stockpile. That's a manufacturing flood.
Precisely. And this is where the plot really thickens, where those geostrategic implications really start to vibrate. The reports indicate this isn't a solo effort. There's a Russia connection here. The sources explicitly state that Russia is not only helping to increase this production, but they're planning to more than double their own production of these Iranian-designed drones. They're aiming for 1,000 units per day.
Wow. 1,000 a day. So what we're looking at is a scenario where these two nations are effectively standardizing this tech and just cranking it out like Model T Fords.
That is a very, very apt analogy, because this creates a whole new category of military power. Historically, power was defined by who had the most advanced technology, right?
The fastest jet, the stealthiest bomber.
The smartest missile, exactly. What this data shows is a shift. It's a shift toward power that's based on sheer overwhelming volume. It's the industrialization of aerial warfare.
It feels like we're seeing a shift from quality to quantity, but quantity just feels like an understatement here. It's more like saturation.
Saturation is exactly the word. And that leads us directly into the philosophy, the strategy behind this buildup. The sources, they call it erosion warfare.
Erosion warfare.
And this is so crucial for you to understand, because it completely changes the definition of winning.
Okay, that sounds ominous. Break that down. If I'm a general and I'm facing this, what am I actually up against? Traditionally, you want to win the dogfight, shoot down the enemy plane and go home.
In erosion warfare, the goal isn't to win a specific dogfight. It's not even to destroy a specific target right away. The goal is to exhaust the enemy.
Exhaust them how?
Their defense capabilities, their economic resilience, and eventually their political tolerance. It's a strategy of attrition, but accelerated by modern technology. The source material points to a very specific economic trap here.
Right, the economics of defense. I saw this in the notes and it just blew my mind. We're talking about the exchange ratio.
Correct. Let's just look at the price tags for a second. The sources estimate a single Shahed drone costs somewhere between, say, $20,000 and maybe up to $193,000.
Which in military terms is dirt cheap.
It's practically free, especially when you consider what you need to shoot it down with. You're not using a rifle.
No, you're using advanced interceptor missiles, Patriots, NASAMS, Iron Dome, things that cost a fortune.
A fortune is right. We're talking hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars per shot. So you do the math. You shoot down a $20,000 drone with a $2 million missile. Who really won that engagement?
Well, you physically won because the drone didn't hit its target, but you financially lost by a massive, massive margin.
Exactly. The source calls this the trap. Even if you have an incredible 80% interception rate, which is very high, the defender still loses the economic war.
Because you'll run out of the expensive missiles.
You'll run out of interceptors. You physically cannot manufacture them as fast as the attacker can churn out the cheap drones. So at the end of the day, the attacker still has thousands of drones left, and the defender's cupboards are bare.
It's like trying to swat a swarm of wasps with a Fabergé egg. You might get one, but you broke something way more valuable, and there are 1,000 more wasps coming.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's talk about the drone itself, the Shahed 136. Why is it so cheap? What makes it so easy to mass produce?
It's the triumph of simplicity, really. The sources describe it as having a simple piston engine. I mean, think of a lawnmower or a moped engine.
Sure.
That's the level we're talking about. It uses inertial navigation, so it doesn't need a pilot, it doesn't need a constant satellite link, and it certainly doesn't have any fancy stealth coatings.
No aerodynamic elegance, as the report puts it.
None at all. It prioritizes durability and affordability over everything else. But, and this is the key, it still has a range of over 2,000 kilometers.
And it carries a warhead.
It carries a 40 to 50 kilogram warhead that is more than enough explosive power to do very serious damage. So it's crude, yes, but it's very effective.
Okay, so we've established the scale, 80,000 units and counting. We've established the philosophy, economic exhaustion. Now let's talk about how this actually looks on the ground. What's the targeting strategy here? If you have 80,000 of these things, you aren't just hunting for tanks in a desert.
No, absolutely not. You go after the systems that keep a modern nation running. The sources highlight critical infrastructure. Think desalination plants.
Which, in the Middle East, is life itself.
The life itself. Oil terminals, ports, crucial radar installations.
And these are all static targets. They don't move. They're just sitting there.
Exactly. And the damage isn't just the explosion. The report talks about a layered effect. If you hit a desalination plant, you're not just breaking a machine, you're threatening a city's water supply. You hit an oil terminal, you shake the global energy market. The economic ripple effect is far, far greater than the physical blast damage.
There's also a psychological aspect to this that really stood out to me. This concept of dare to die. It sounds dramatic, but it makes a lot of sense. If you know there are 80,000 of these things out there, you can never, ever relax.
That's a central pillar of the entire strategy. It is psychological warfare. The constant looming threat forces the defender into a state of relentless vigilance. Radar operators can't sleep. Command and control systems are under constant grinding stress. It creates what they call operator fatigue.
It's the buzzing in your ear that just never, ever stops.
And it acts as a tool of strategic coercion. By just holding this massive inventory, Iran is signaling that it can sustain this pressure indefinitely. This isn't a one-and-done strike. This is a siege.
The sources bring up a very real-world example to illustrate this point: Ukraine. There's a quote from President Zelensky about facing 500 drones a day.
That quote, that's the proof of concept. When Zelensky talks about 500 Iranian-designed drones a day plus missiles, he is describing what industrial-scale usage actually looks like in practice. It's not a theory anymore. We are seeing it play out. And the big concern now is how this same doctrine applies regionally in the Middle East.
Right. Specifically regarding Israel and the Levant. How does the saturation doctrine change the equation there?
For Israel, the threat is designed specifically to deplete those interceptor stocks we talked about.
Yeah.
If you launch enough drones, you force the defense to make a terrible choice. Do I protect the populated city center? Or do I protect the power plant?
And you might not have enough missiles for both.
You might not. And in the Red Sea region, the geography allows for coordinated launches from multiple points. The sources mention Iran plus its proxies launching at the same time. This compresses the response time. If drones are coming from the north, east, and south simultaneously, the entire defense network just gets overwhelmed. It's about creating a dilemma that your advanced technology alone can't solve.
Which brings us to the bigger picture. This isn't just a story about Iran or the Middle East, is it? The sources suggest this is a blueprint for the entire world.
It absolutely is. This is a lesson that's being studied right now in war colleges from Beijing to Washington. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in warfare. We are moving from what we call platform competition.
You know, who has the best fighter jet, the best tank?
Right. We're moving from that to something called inventory warfare.
Inventory warfare, meaning who has the most stuff in the warehouse?
Essentially, yes. But more than that, who has the manufacturing capacity to replace what's lost faster than the enemy? The key takeaway from the source material is that the deciding factor in future conflicts might simply be how long your radar systems can operate and how deep your stocks of interceptors are. It's a battle of logistics.
So let's apply this to Asia. The report specifically breaks down the implications for Southeast and Southeast Asia. Where do we start?
Let's start with South Asia, India and Pakistan. In that context, this 80,000 drone benchmark, it redefines affordable mass. For nuclear-armed powers like them, these drone swarms become a sort of a parallel strategic strike inventory.
So you don't have to go nuclear to have a massive strategic effect.
Precisely. You can use a swarm of 5,000 drones to paralyze an opponent's national grid. It lowers the threshold for strategic-level attacks, which is a scary thought.
It is. What about East Asia? We usually think of high-tech missile defense there because of ballistic missile threats.
And that is exactly the vulnerability. The air defense systems in East Asia are optimized for fast, high-flying ballistic missiles. They are structurally vulnerable to slow, low-flying, massed drones. A radar that's designed to spot a missile moving at Mach 5 might really struggle to effectively track 1,000 lawnmowers flying at 100 miles per hour just above the trees.
It's the wrong tool for the job, like trying to catch a fly with a bear trap.
A perfect analogy. And in Southeast Asia, the implications are maritime. The sources note that this is destabilizing for all those maritime disputes. If you can deploy cheap drones across thousands of miles of coastline, you can create what's called infrastructure denial. You can threaten shipping lanes and ports without needing a massive, expensive navy.
So if I'm a defense planner listening to this, and I'm suddenly realizing my billion-dollar missile shield is economically unsustainable, what do I do? What is the new defense reality the sources talk about?
The whole security architecture has to shift. The goal now is what they call sustainable swap ratios. You can't just rely on expensive missile shields. You need cheap interceptors. You need more electronic warfare to jam these drones instead of shooting them. You need directed energy weapons, lasers that cost maybe $1 per shot.
Right. You have to bring the cost of your defense way, way down to match the low cost of the offense.
That's it. The era of gold-plated defense systems solving every problem is over. If the enemy is spending $20,000 to attack you, you need to be able to spend $20,000 or less to stop them. Otherwise, you go bankrupt before the shooting even stops.
It really reframes how we think about military strength. We used to count aircraft carriers. Now we might need to start counting factory output.
That's the aha moment right there. The center of gravity in global defense has shifted. It is no longer just about having a fifth-generation Air Force. It's about industrial resilience. It's about the ability to scale. The country that can build the most, the fastest, and the cheapest is the one that dictates the tempo of the conflict.
It's a very sobering reality check. We're looking at a world where sheer mass has a quality all its own, where a moped engine can hold a billion-dollar piece of infrastructure hostage.
And remember, this technology is a blueprint. It's exportable. It doesn't stay in one region. The Shahed doctrine, as some are calling it, is effectively an open-source manual for asymmetric warfare in the 21st century.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means the security news you read tomorrow isn't just about diplomatic talks. It's about supply chains, manufacturing rates, and the brutal economics of survival.
And when we look at this data, we're not just seeing numbers on a page. We are seeing a fundamental transformation of what military capability even means. The 80,000 figure is the headline, but the real story is the industrial engine roaring behind it.
That's right. And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. If the definition of a superpower is shifting from who has the best tech to who has the best factories, what does that mean for the current global balance of power? Are we ready for a world where quantity beats quality? A massive thank you to everyone for listening and watching today. We hope this deep dive gave you a new perspective on the changing face of global security. If you enjoy this, please check out our other deep dives where we unravel the complexities of the modern world. Until next time, stay curious.